Welcome to Leadership Reimagined, where game-changing conversations are reshaping the world of work. I'm Janice Ellig, CEO and founder of Ellig Group, Executive Search Advisors, pioneers in redefining executive search through our unwavering commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Today on Leadership Reimagined, our topic is a corporate and philanthropic journey of impact and empowerment. And I am delighted to welcome Jerre Stead, who, with his wife Mary Joy Stead, founded the Stead Foundation, which partners with nonprofits poised to make a societal impact. And to date, the foundation has granted more than $400 million to healthcare, education, faith-based organizations, and related causes. Let me tell you a little bit about Jerre Stead because I've known him a number of years. Very recently, in 2023, Jerre founded Stead Impact Ventures as an extension of the foundation's commitment with the mission to invest responsibility and purpose in innovators whose ideas will positively change the course of health and well-being for the planet. Jerre has had a long and extraordinary career as CEO of 10 public companies. He is the chair emeritus at Clarivate after serving as its executive chair and chief executive officer for more than 3 years. Prior, Jerre was the CEO of Churchill Capital Corp until its merger with Clarivate in May 2019. And earlier, he served as chairman and CEO of IHS Markit Limited, a publicly listed company on NASDAQ and world leader in critical information analytics and solutions. And at that same time, he was executive chairman and CEO at IHS Inc., its predecessor company. Prior to his leadership at IHS Markit, he led other highly successful technology and information companies such as Ingram Micro, Legion Corporation, AT&T Global Business Communication Systems, AT&T Global Information Solutions, NCR Japan, Square D, and Honeywell Philips Medical Electronics. He has also invested in nearly 40 startup companies. Extraordinary, his 42-year career. He has achieved average annual shareholder returns exceeding 22% and served on 36 corporate and 27 nonprofit boards. Jerre has received numerous accolades for his work, including the Kenneth B. West Lifetime Achievement Award in July 2017 from the National Association of Corporate Directors in recognition of his service on corporate and philanthropic boards. He is the chairman of the Banner Alzheimer's Institute, as well as chairman of the board of Garrett Evangelical Seminary, and he sits on the boards of the American Writers Museum and Guideposts. Jerre, you have had an incredible career. I don't know where you find the time to do all this, but you are going strong, and I'm so delighted you could join us today.
It's my pleasure, Janice. I'm happy to do this. I look forward to doing it with you always.
You and I share, both being graduates of the University of Iowa, and you are from Iowa. And when you were going to college, you lived in a trailer, paid your way through college, working 40 hours a week, drafting documents for the local county courthouse. And I understand you were making at that time less than $3,000 a year. And to make more, you mowed lawns with your wife, Mary Joy, on weekends. So this is the beginning of your career. You're getting out of college. And you said that your drive was because, quote, you just didn't know what you couldn't do. So has that been what's driven you all these years, Jerre?
It's a great thought and question. As you know, Janice, Mary Joy and I started dating when we were 15. Got married the day before she turned 19 and 12 days before I turned 19. And yes, went to the University of Iowa, lived in a 40-foot by 10-foot trailer, which was very cost efficient. It did a lot of things at once. I did work 40 hours a week during the school year, and then I worked 60, 70 hours a week leading survey crews in the summer. At the time, it was so funny, Janice. I was receiving, I had 26, 27 people working for me, and I was receiving $1.65 an hour. So felt really good about it. And back then, it was literally what we what we grew up thinking about, Mary Jo and I did, which was whatever's got to happen, we're just going to do it. We don't know what we can't do, so we'll always set a goal of what we hope we can do and find out later. And I've always lived by that, and I continue to, which I think I so enjoy helping others think through, setting great goals for the future, working backwards from that future back to what we can do. And it's always been, I always think of it this way: it's like a rubber band. And I thought about that in college. If you don't stretch the rubber band tight, you'll never know how good you could have been. So that's what we've lived by forever. And every now and then you do break the rubber band, but it's the only way you know how good you could have been. So those two together, don't know what we can't do, always make it happen, and stretch the rubber band to change as fast as we can.
So I want to get to stretching that rubber band in business, but before we do that, talk a little bit about that joy of giving. You set priorities with Mary Joy early on about what was going to be important to you and where you would direct your philanthropy. And I know you did this early on from both of you when you didn't have a lot of money. So does it come from your backgrounds, or where does this all come from in terms of the joy of giving?
The joy of giving is our life, and it's just a blessing. We love sharing time, talent, and treasure. It always has been. Yes, we actually tithed, Janice, when we got married. We, like I said, $2,900 a year we lived on. We budgeted, by the way, we still do. We look once a year at the budget book. That was our first year of marriage 62 years ago. We would keep things like $26.14 for the week of groceries and make sure we were just exactly right. We both grew up with strong faith-based families. Mary Joy's great-grandfather and grandmother were missionaries in India for 42 years. Her grandfather was actually born in India and became a missionary later. I had two wonderful grandmothers, both of whom were very, very active in the Methodist Church, along with my parents, and always felt that was a fundamental base for us. And so we tithed, actually. We gave $250 out of our $2,900 a year to the United Methodist Church of Iowa City. We also did quite a bit of Sunday school teaching and other projects because we always felt that was just part of our life. And we still continue to do that. And we still focus on time, talent, and treasure. There's nothing better than getting to share what you have and helping others feel great and creating success for them. The $250 back then seemed like a fortune to us. And even then in our senior year, I can remember Mary Joy and I talking about what would be a great success in giving in the future. And each year we have that discussion on New Year's Day. What will be a great success? That was back in 1965 when we graduated. Now in 2024 on New Year's Day, we'll talk about what will make a great success for us in 2024.
This has been a true partnership between the two of you in terms of what was important in terms of changing the planet. So describe those areas that you do give to and you look at, like in 2024 and beyond, where you want to focus your giving.
We always thought about how do we create great leaders for the future? So that's where we started. And so we thought when we could, we would give money that would create great leaders in education, great leaders in research, great leaders in business, and great leaders in faith. And that's how we started. As we move forward over the years, different events in our lives created an even more precise focus on some things. Now, I should comment, Mary Joy is a medical technologist and always had a high degree of interest in medicine. And so that helped steer the ship. But the four things originally were those four leadership provisions for creating a great world in the future. Over time, we added very specific projects. My mother had Alzheimer's, so we went after Alzheimer's I started the Banner Alzheimer's Institute 18 years ago. Today, we believe that by the end of 2026, maybe a quarter or two sooner, we'll actually have 2 preventions for Alzheimer's. And it was a focus on how do we pull together the best in the world to provide education again for the patients and the families of this disease. And then in parallel with that, what do we do to make sure that there's not another generation that goes by without finding that prevention? So that one we worked hard on. We're about to see that success. Child obesity was another one because it was Mary Joy's idea. We always think about how do we bend the curve down when things are going up and not good for the world from a health standpoint. How do we change that curve, bend it down? Child obesity, if you study it, you'll see that it creates an enormous amount of issues. And it's a critical issue for the world. We coincidentally last night celebrated our 20th anniversary of a program that I started along with a couple of good friends of Mary Joy called Healthy Life Stars. And the whole focus was to give young people an education on healthy food, healthy habits, help them give them goals to accomplish, hold them accountable for those goals, and let them win together by creating those goals. And so that's another one we've done a lot of. The third one is how do we help the mental illness issues in the world? That one came from several things, partly a spin-off from my concerns of Alzheimer's and how do we respect and create great things for great people in all places, even when they have mental issues. Also, I'm the oldest of 17 cousins, and our family tradition is we, as cousins, if you're the oldest, you help support all of them. And so we had 2 of my cousins commit suicide. That taught us a great lesson. So that's the other one we've been very active on. Mary Joyce served, because you're right, Janice, it's been 100% partnership. I couldn't have done half of what I did in business if I wouldn't have Mary Joy doing so much else and supporting me. But she served on the Fountain House Board, which has 1,200 clubs around the world to help the mentally ill. We've created what we call Club 43 here in Phoenix that does it well. It's one-stop shop. We're spreading that now throughout the country and eventually the world. So those 3 were extra focuses. And we're now about to, we won't announce it quite yet today, but we're about to go after, knowing that Alzheimer's is in great shape, we'll go after the 4th one, and maybe you and I can talk about that down the road.
We will. Well, knowing Mary Joy as well as I do, I know that next to every great man is a great woman, and she is a great woman. So you are a formidable couple together, and you've done so much good work of in this world to help people less fortunate. What did it take you back to your public career in public companies? You run 10 of them and you were on 37 boards. So I want to ask a little bit about, you're so dedicated to changing the planet. How did you try and do that in these companies, running them and making them run better, and then also developing the people? What was your leadership style there, Jerry?
I started out working for Honeywell after I graduated from college. I had a lot of offers that year, 9 different offers, and picked Honeywell because I was selected there to be one of their quote high talent pools, which meant I'd get a view of all of the different parts of Honeywell. Very shortly after I started, my year became a month or 2. I became the 4th of July back in 1965. I was asked, not asked, actually told, which is the way that worked in those
Right.
days. You're now a foreman of the downtown plant, coil winding, 400 people, 3 chefs. I can remember telling Mary Joy we were starting to look for houses. I said, let's not start yet because I don't know if I can pull this off. So it was Teamsters Local 1145. I had 400 of them, 3 chefs. I got the group leaders together who were also members of the union, wonderful people. And I said, I don't know what to do because this is brand new to me. What I do know is that I'm very good at listening. I'll listen to you. You tell me what you need to be successful, and we'll do it together. And the more I can help you, the more we'll show the success that nobody else can do. So that's how I started. And I learned over the years that that's what it works. I was tutoring a really sharp young CEO last week, and I told him the way I think about the world is, sir, I want to surround myself with great people, and then I'm going to spend all my energy helping these great people be very successful. As a habit, I started over 50 years ago. Every morning, I get up early, I do exercises, I meditate, and then I do this saying every morning: how do I help great people do great things today? And then set myself a goal of making sure that that happens day after day. So my whole belief has been, how do I take the skills of others, bring them together, create a great team, set, like I said, and we talked earlier about, set very aggressive goals. We won't make them all, but we'll never know what we could have made if we didn't set aggressive goals, and then celebrate. I've always said two other things. I think of laughter as an instant vacation. It was funny, Janice, a lot of the first day of my career of coming in as CEO of other companies, I'd walk in and it was way too quiet. I laugh a lot, and I would always get teased about it was quiet before you got here. Now it's nothing but laughter. So I think of laughter as an instant vacation. And I think of always trying to create a workplace environment where work needs to be play with a purpose. Work needs to be success with a purpose. Work needs to be something I'm proud and I can enjoy in. So those are the backgrounds I always set. But it always started with listening to people, asking them what I can do with them to help them do better, and then doing my very best, spending all my energy helping them help others.
As you were beyond a servant leader, you were really totally empowering them and making them great by what you knew and giving them that sort of boost to feel really confident in themselves. So this is something that you've done throughout your career. And you told a story about one of the companies. There was a big policy book, like 1,000 policies or 1,000 pages. Tell me what you did at a town hall meeting with the people there, the employees there.
Yeah, that was so interesting. It was my first week I got there. Young guy, and I was a young guy too then, but a young guy came in and gave me two books, a blue book and a gray book. Said, these have got all the policies and procedures. This was an 85-year-old company. Uh, in here, you're one of only two people that get them all. And I said, what are they for? And I'll never forget. He said, this is to tell people what they need to do. So I took them out in the parking lot and burned them. And the whole point was, yeah, no, it was. I'll tell you one funny part about it in just a second. But the whole point of that was, now let's start over and let's put in place the policies, the procedures, the processes that our people need to be successful. Let's ask them what they need and how we can do it, which we did. And I've done that every place. It's funny, that particular subject, which I was not planning to happen, ended up getting picked up by Business Week back in I think it was February of 87. And there was an article written about that. So that publicity was not one I had planned on, but it's one that the world's always remembered. The whole point was, everything we do has got to be, how do we help our people be successful, not tell them what to do. Point one. Point two, and another thing I've always lived with my whole career, being fortunate enough to lead such great people, is that you'll never find the bad guys or gals by auditing or putting policies and procedures that are so tough in place. You got to take the handcuffs off people. So never put handcuffs on people. And the way you will find the problems is create a culture, a great culture, where people take pride in making sure that they work together successfully. And I've learned that 100 times over, and it's still, in fact, I would say it applies more today than any other time.
So tell us more about the leadership principles, like about trust in people and making them feel good. What are those 5 principles that guide you, Jerry, and did in corporate as well as in your philanthropic work and not-for-profit?
Yeah, and thanks for commenting, because I believe it's true in both places, Janice. I absolutely believe in the nonprofit world. The same things I'm about to outline are equally important, and it makes a huge difference. So, one, uh, start out with 100% trust of every person. And I really mean that, where you operate with the assumption that you've got great people and that they're going to do their very best to make things happen, and that you operate with the assumption that everyone wants to be successful. And if you help them by operating with the trust that they will be, it'll happen. I always get the question, of course, on this one, don't did you have people that didn't earn your trust? And the answer is yes, but a very, very small percentage. The world's full of great, wonderful people that you can get to blossom if you start out with 100% trust. So that's point one. Beside that, by the way, these are not in order, they're just all 5 need to happen. Uh, I think the two, the trust, and then treating every person in the organization with equal dignity and respect is critical. I've always operated that way. I do my very best to create cultures where there's no we, they. That's something I still see happen in the world way too much. Uh, Example only, I know you've heard me talk about it before, Janice, but when I go into a company, I wipe out all perks. I don't believe in perks because that creates the we they. I am happy to pay people really, really well, and when they earn it, and we'll do that together. But don't have perks. Perks say I'm better than you. Never operate that way. Another example, my whole career, and I'm not encouraging people to do this unless they feel like it. I have never had a contract. Of all the public companies I've led, I never had a contract because I don't believe in a need to have a contract. I believe in I'm going to do my very best at my job. If I don't and I fail, so be it. If I do, I'll be well paid and reimbursed, and I'll win big. If someone wants a contract because they feel they need it, I'll do that in today's world. But again, I always try to make sure there's nothing that creates any we they class structure. So that's number 2. Treat every person with equal dignity and respect. Number 3, I've always said if I had $1 left or a pound or a ruble left, what would I spend it on? I'd spend it on training and development for my people. My whole success has been helping great people do great things. So uh, always, every place I've been, I work to get at least 3 weeks a year of training and development for every colleague at every level in the company. And a lot of what I do there, because it needs to be fun. One, I ask the people, what do you want to do? I encourage them working on the outside in nonprofit organizations. Great way to learn education. I consider that, I give them time off for that at work because that's critically important. If they tell me they want to shift careers, I do my best to help them. They tell me they want to get better at the job they're in, we do our best to provide that. Keep them current. Let them set their own sights, if you will, on what's going to be the greatest success. So I think that's so important. That one of the things I've done a lot of over my career is swap jobs with people. In fact, back in the IHS days, when we first took that company public, early 2006, we actually had our top. I usually have 11 to 12 people that are on my leadership team, sometimes up to 14. We would swap jobs twice a year for a week. Like I'd step out of playing CEO and become the head of marketing, and that marketing person would be CEO for a week, just so that we could. I'll tell you, you stand in the shoes and sit in the chair of others. It helps you so much think through what can I do better to make that work. So huge focus always. 3 weeks I've always had as a target for, and I think we need that at least that much for every colleague in every company. So that's number 3. Number 4 is facts as our friends, an ever tougher one, because this world we live in today is full of less than facts. And so that what I've done over the years, because it's so critical, and again, it's with trust too, so critical. So when someone wants something from me, I used to have them write a one-page letter, now obviously a one-page email, and say, front, top line, here's what we want you to do out of my one pager. In other words, what action do you want me, Jerre Stead, to take? Then 2 or 3 paragraphs on the background of it, 1 or 2 paragraphs on financial facts or market facts on it, and then at the bottom, always tell me what decision you want me to make and how quick do you want me to make it. And then I can always ask for more information, but facts as our friends start there. I've always operated with this is my personal situation. I always try to get my heads around things. So when I get up every morning, the first thing I do is turn on television. I do 25 minutes of exercise. And while I'm doing that, I always watch 3 different channels, a liberal channel, a conservative channel, and what I try to find is spot on in the middle channel. Then I make the decision of what facts as our friends. And it's so critical that we think of the world that way. It's so critical that we, and by the way, if we're right three out of 4 times, 75% of the time, that's great. You can correct anything if you move quickly, but get the best facts, make the decision, and then move on from there. 5th one, critical, is and I ask everybody in every one of my companies to feel this way, an intense external intellectual curiosity about our customer. That's the reason we get to exist, as our customers. So an intense external intellectual curiosity about them. How do we help them do great things? How do we help them be successful together? Single biggest way to do that is go visit them and listen to them. Those are the 5 pillars. And the one other thing I'd add to that I've always felt so strongly, which is I encourage great debate. When we're in meetings on decisions, the more we have the discussion, again, always open, honest, candid, caring communication, open, honest, candid, caring communication. But we'll make a decision, and the more diverse the people are, the better decision we'll make. Critical to me, though, is when we walk out of that room, we'll agree, or more important, understand why we made that decision, and we will 100% support it. I've watched 100 times over the years in boards I've been involved with, for-profit, nonprofit companies I've led. People will walk out. First thing they'll say is, I don't like this. I don't believe in it. That's the worst possible environment you can create for success. So my rule was really simple. We'll walk out of this room. We will agree that we will absolutely support it. If you choose not to support that decision, you can make a different decision, and I'll help you be successful elsewhere. But we have to have that, because that's the way you win. Will we make mistakes? Of course. But that's part of the second part of that rule, which from a culture standpoint is raise your hand, say, I need help. This is not working right. What have I got to do? A quick view, then back to facts as our friends, and off we go, take the correction and move from there. But it's so critical that we create a team win-win environment where we agree, not necessarily on, and I don't believe in consensus. We agree that we do understand why we made the decision and how we're going to implement it. That's been my mantra from day one. And it works. It works so well.
Trust in your people is so important. Making your people greater than you is so important. Getting into a room and getting people to really talk without any fear of reprisal, right? And getting their best ideas. And then you leave united. You don't always all agree, but everybody's voice has been heard. And you've done that in such a great way to build in corporations and now in your PE and your venture capital investments that you're making in companies. What else have you seen that people aren't doing that they should do? Because I think transparency is part of this too, to be very
Yeah, no, great question. Uh, Open, honest, candid, caring communications, Janice, is so important. I shake my head with some of the things I see, and I always treat every person with equal dignity and respect. But I'll say to them, "Did you really mean that? Is that
yeah.
really what you're thinking? Why are you saying that to this person?" One of the things I see a lot of today, we all do, uh, is we sometimes write emails very aggressively. When that happens, I always try to take quick corrective action. And the way I take it, by the way, is because that does happen in our world. I grab the person that I don't mean literally grab. I take the person and we go together to the other person and sit down and have the discussion. I see so often that leaders let themselves be conduits of trouble. I will not do that. I'm happy to be referee. I'm happy to personally make the decision if I have to, because we can't get agreement between the other two, but never ever be a conduit. And I see that too much today. The other thing is, like I said, when we talked about the rubber band at the beginning, Janice, that's so critical. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to stretch. Don't worry that, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it. If you don't stretch and break that rubber band every now and then by not making it, you'll never know how great you could have been. And I see too often today reluctance saying, I want to make this happen. I'm going to make this happen, period. And you'll never know how much more you could have made happen. Those are the two that I see repeated more than need to be. And a part of that's just having confidence in yourself. And it's back to what we said at the very beginning. It's what Mary Jo and I've always believed. What we don't know we can't do, we'll do.
So, with your investments in companies, it's very focused on healthcare. Are you looking to do other investments outside of healthcare, or is that pretty much your focus going forward?
Great question. Right now, it is 90% healthcare. The way I think about it, Janice, is some startups aren't going to make it. Won't necessarily be they did anything wrong. It just didn't play out. But we'll be much smarter about the next one and the next one from a healthcare standpoint. If you think about all the things that have gone on with the studies and all the work to get a prevention for Alzheimer's, that's happened time after time. So I look at those investments in healthcare as I want them to be successful. I love helping the entrepreneurs that we've hired. It's just wonderful. And to have them work with us, that's great. But if we don't make it, we'll be smarter for the next one. I do have, Mary Joy always teases me. I always do about two more things than I say I was going to do. So I do have a few other startups because they're interesting and I like the people, or I'm going to help them because they've asked me to. But the primary focus is healthcare, and the world needs that more than ever before.
And therefore, it's called Stead Impact Ventures because you really are trying to impact the planet to be healthier mentally and physically. So, what is your advice to those listening today who want to be entrepreneurs, have an idea, not sure what to do next, maybe don't quite have your view about didn't know what you couldn't do, you just went and did it. What's your advice to them?
I'll tell you, I did that kickoff speech in October at the University of Iowa for the Capitol campaign. And one of the questions I got, Janice, at the end was, I've got a great idea. What should I do with it? I said, come talk to me, because
Okay.
I'm happy to help people. And what I really mean by, and to answer your very good question, is find somebody to ask, what can I do? Who can I get help from? Don't be afraid. Don't be reluctant to think, well, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. Believe in it and go for it, and just ask. It's been so interesting as we put Civ together. We've gotten lots and lots of requests. Many of them are really exciting. Most of them are, and just by asking, and being willing to take it the next step, which is critical, lay out a game plan, a strategy, and then let her rip, if you will.
So, Jerre, you truly believe that work is play with purpose. And you've written about this as well. So, are you going to write more so we can learn from that and be better leaders?
On my newest book, it just signed up an agreement actually 2 weeks ago, starting it, and the answer is yes, because I want to share all the things that have worked and those that haven't worked for me, too, because work needs to be play with a purpose. Work needs to be a place that you take pride in. One of the things I've always done, Janice, is had colleague engagement surveys 2 or 3 times a year, employee engagement surveys, if you will. And then I've used every one of the feedbacks I can get, always done by an outside anonymous firm. But I've used all those feedbacks because at the end of the day, it's people. And that's all you've got. You can have great IP, you can have great everything, but if you don't have great people, it doesn't work. So that's the way to make it. And I've always, like I said, I've always tried to do it. As you may know, I think I'm the only CEO that at every company I've led, in the last 7 companies, every colleague in our company had the opportunity to earn shares, not options, shares, based on how we did with our customer delight surveys, again, done externally every year. We had a run of 15 years in a row at IHS and then IHS Market, where every one of our colleagues, every place in the world, earned shares every year because they had the opportunity to be measured on delighting customers, internal and external. And always, if you think about what I said earlier, that's back to having confidence and trust in the people and making sure they got an opportunity to gain with the progress they had. And that's why work is play with a purpose. And that's why I always think of laughter is an instant vacation.
So, Jerre, you have put employees first, which then they put their customers first, and that makes communities, first, and makes shareholders benefit. So you had it in the right order. And what you've done is to really change lives, and you're changing society, and you're making it all healthier for all of us. And you and Mary Joy are just so to be commended for everything you've done from a very early age when you didn't have money, but giving back then and giving to other people. And I'm just in, I've learned from you over the past almost 20 years. So you have been an inspiration to so many, and you will continue to be to me and many, many others. And I think you may be getting calls after this, after this podcast, in terms of what do I do now, Jerre? I also want to mention that IHS, which became IHS Market and now is part of IHS Market S&P Global, was a real success story, as many of your companies have been. So congratulations to you, to Mary Joy, but most of all, how you're really impacting the planet and people's lives.
I enjoy doing this very much, Janice, and I enjoy helping. Like I said, great people do great things. Sharing what we've done and having fun doing it, there's nothing better in the world. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, when you've published that book, you'll be back on giving us more leadership lessons, because in this world and where we are today, it's all about great leadership. And so thank you, Jerre Stead. Thank you, Mary Joy Stead, for a wonderful life that you've lived and given back to so many people.
Thank you.
And thank you to our audience for joining us today on another, game-changing conversation on Leadership Reimagined. You can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or visit our website at elligroup.com. Thank you so much for joining us today.